You can't have anything else salty if you have
Lee
popcorn.
J. Hello, Lee J. God, you were there quickly. Hello, everyone.
Okay.
Sorry.
Good evening, everyone. Lovely. Thank you if you've just come over from Instagram. I was just doing an Instagram live. It's so nice when you do an Instagram live and then you see those names come over to YouTube. It's lovely.
Lee J. Hello, Karen Busby. So we are going to be sharing. We've had some questions and dilemmas sent our way via email, some of which we've homed in on. Some of them weren't around the topic of relationships. I think we were quite specific about relationships because the last time we did a Agony Aunt and Uncle, it was an amazing experience actually for us, and I think it went down very well.
Moving.
It was very moving. It was very intense, but we did feel a little bit like we were possibly sort of stepping into territory that we weren't entirely qualified to talk about. So
because what we are not experts. We just share our experiences of our marriage and say, well, you know, this is kind of because. So many people that set themselves up as experts that aren't experts.
Yeah, we don't like that sort of
thing.
So
we don't want to go into big, deep psychological problems because we're not qualified to help. But, you know, in relationship stuff, we've had quite a bit of experience,
and I think this is very much spun out of our podcast series, which is How to Stay Married So Far. And the so far is the important bit. Because I believe a successful marriage is all about constant work. I'm going to let Cheech out because she looks like she wants to go out. But when you say it's all about.
How do you find that you work out arguments? Is there any way we can see this on here, Mark? 'Cause that's quite a good first question.
Yeah, well, we can go back. We've got. So I've just got the other questions that we've been sent through.
So
here,
how do you find you work out?
How do you two find that you work at arguments?
Work it out. Work it out. Do you mean?
I think every argument is very different.
Think about yesterday's argument.
Pardon?
Yesterday's argument.
Well, every argument is very different, and yet what happens is you might go in. I think every argument can start with a very different subject and a very different entry point, and then what happens is, in a marriage, is you go to the well-defined, well-trodden, habitual kind of sort of stuff that you do in every round. Do you know what I mean? You end up doing the same thing. It ends up coming back to the same things. Oh, you're a miserable this, you're a that, you're a this. And you start sort of slinging dirt at each other. But
the only way, I don't think she was asking how to have an argument. She's asking how do you stop having an argument.
Oh, I know.
So I think the only way, like we had a massive argument yesterday morning and I went off and Mark was like, oh God, you're storming off and you're going to leave me not knowing whether we're going to make up or not. And I said, you know what, I'm actually not, because I do that. We all do that, don't we? We just want to get, I said, I'm just going to go out for 10 minutes just to calm, just to break the moment. And when I first went out for the first 3 minutes, I was just still raging. But then I just calmed right down. Sometimes I think it's, you know, like when kids are arguing and you have to separate them. I think if you can separate with kindness and say, listen, we're both really pissed off. You know, I'm going to just have a little walk. You do something and then let's come back and let's try and be kind. And I think you sometimes just have to go, listen, we're both hurt. We're both angry.
But can I also make a suggestion? Because this kind of sometimes, what NADIA says there is absolutely spot on. But I do think, and I think taking the heat out of an argument is a really good thing. And one person leaving the argument always works. But here's the thing. Try not to get into the habit of it being the person who's said everything and then they walk out. Because you'll leave the person behind feeling like they're unheard, unlistened to, and you run the risk of you might walk it off and storm off and walk off, but you'll come back and that person is still at the place where you left them. Try and actually verbalise. What you did do actually on this row was you actually said to me, you said, okay, Mark, I'm not storming off, I'm actually going out to get some fresh air to clear my head. And that actually helped, because I thought, well, okay, within that, there's a suggestion that there's going to be peace. Well, there's peace coming. I like this question here.
Autopilot. Claire's vlogs.
Yeah, Claire's vlogs. How do you keep the relationship alive after being together for so long? I find you get into a routine and go into autopilot. It's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard.
It's really hard. I mean, I think it's much harder if you don't like the person you're with. Like, I drive Mark mad. He drives me mad. But we do actually like each other. Like, I look at him and I think, I really like you. You know, you're funny, you're kind, you're all these things. But I think we've been really struggling with it recently. We work a lot together. We're together with each other a lot. You can just shortcut stuff. So when we had this argument yesterday, we were saying we've got to find. We've talked and talked about it, but we do actually. That's a cardo. We do actually have to commit to spending some time together where we are doing something for ourselves. And you know, I'm sure you're groaning with the thought of that, thinking, "Oh God," but you do. It doesn't have to be something expensive. It doesn't have to be something flash. But you do have to go, however much you think, oh, I just can't be arsed. I just want to flop in front of the telly and watch the telly. Or I just want to just stuff my face. Or I just want to drink this bottle of wine rather than put up with him. You have to make that effort to spend time together. And to be, you know, to hold hands sometime, you know, to force yourself. Even if you're not particularly feeling romantic, I think sometimes you have to force yourself into feeling romantic. You have to try and impress that person again, because we were talking about this, me and Mark, and saying, you know, when you're first together and you do all these things for each other and everything, why do we actually do that? Why do people do that when they're first together and then they don't do it later on? And we came to the conclusion that actually when you're first together, you are wanting to impress that other person. You're wanting to say, listen, I'm fantastic, I've thought of this thing, I've done this, I've done that. And so once you've impressed somebody, you kind of like stop trying in a way.
Yeah.
And I think it's important. I mean, Mark used to be really, really, really romantic, and he's not at all anymore.
What?
But you're not.
Neither you never have been.
Yeah, but I never was.
Well,
I am romantic.
Oh my God!
I'm romantic in funny ways, but you're not romantic in the way that you used to be. But I'm still romantic. See, I think I'm romantic in the way that I care for you and I worry about your health and
so
I feed you.
where am I not romantic?
Well, you don't do the romantic things you used to do.
Because I don't feel like I can.
Yeah. So basically, we're not going to turn this into an argument in a relationship.
I can't believe I've just walked back from having done the shopping and I've just been literally told I'm not romantic.
No, but you just have to find those little ways back to each other. That's what I would say. It's difficult. It's bloody difficult. If anyone else has got any other ideas on how to, then that would be great. Yeah, Claire, I like the idea of going out for walks like you and Mark. Well, yeah, we do. We just sometimes we look at each other and we don't go, oh my God.
Katie, why do I not feel
Let's just get out and have a walk. Let's just break the pattern of da-da-da, you know, the routine.
Someone was just following up, asking, because I just said I don't feel like I can be. I do think it's... The reason I kind of have such a negative reaction to that is that after years of trying to kind of protect and do certain things, I mean, for me, the most romantic thing I can think of doing is taking you out on dates and doing things with you. And I know that for you, the most romantic thing would be helping around the house and cooking and all that kind of stuff.
No, that's not right.
No, not only, but all of these things, doing anything with care, concern and thought and selflessness is romantic. Now, I would say that perhaps wrongly, and it's probably projecting, I've got to a point where I used to always send cards, even when we were living together or together, and flowers, and I'd really think about shows that we were going to go and see together. And now I think I do come at it from the perspective of we've been together so many years, we have so many other logistical problems, and there are logistics in life. There are logistics of children. There are logistics of children with, you know, if your child's suffering from anxiety one day, or if they're doing something the next. There's, I mean, many times for me it would be romantic to just whisk you off to New York, but then there are many issues about leaving the kids and not going. So I feel
but that's too big a thing.
No, I know that's too big a thing, but even the smaller things, it's like, yeah, I'm sure we would love flowers in the house every day, but we have so many other priorities that I wouldn't be being honest if I thought buying flowers was the show of romance every week. It just wouldn't do it.
No, but I'm not saying that. Nicola Price, I think that's interesting what you're saying there, because that's what I was thinking about saying to Mark. So me and my boyfriend go for a walk in the park together and leave our phones behind. And I was thinking about this, because sometimes we're filming for the vlog and that's fine. But I think we should have walks where we just leave the phone, because I think because you do the markets and stuff on the phone, and because I think our relationship has really suffered through both of our phone addiction. And I know that's the same for a lot of people. We're both equally addicted. Nobody's worse than the other. We're both totally addicted to our phones. And
Thanks,
it's like having a third person in the marriage, I think, having a phone. I think it is. It's like we're swingers.
Yeah, Yeah, yes.
You all right?
Yeah. No, I was just
Yeah,
thinking
because we got to do this as
no,
well.
No. I was just thinking of what you were saying. Yeah, no. But Michelle just said then that some things like doing the garden is an act of romance. I think it is hard. I think staying romantic and being romantic, you know, it's easy to smart when someone says you're not being romantic enough. Oh, the fact of the matter is that when you say that, I immediately go into a kind of an analysis of where and how one could be better. And I do think what Nadia just said a minute ago is really key. I think, in a weird way, someone just said, I can't remember who it was, a comment just went up where they said, I haven't cared enough in a relationship to have a row. And I think that the reason we do get through rows is I do think we fundamentally know that at the back of us, however idiotic, selfish, stupid, or misguided we are in a specific argument, we genuinely have the welfare of the relationship at heart. We're not trying to compete with each other. We're not trying to con each other. We're not hiding secrets from them. I think it becomes very different when you're keeping secrets from each other. And that actually was going to become the topic of a new podcast that I was listening to the radio today. And I think secrecy in marriage is quite an interesting topic because, you know, so I do think I think there's huge pressure to be romantic. And I think romance in a relationship shifts to different departments. I think it comes at you in different ways. And you're right.
We're going to do a whole podcast
I'm pleased
on
someone
that.
said that, though, because something like doing the herb garden or doing the garden, you know, I do feel that in doing that, I'm trying to give something that's nice. Now, that's very different to kind of going out to a really nice wine bar and getting absolutely drunk together, isn't it?
Let's do some more questions. So Emily Allen just said there that she's found out that her boyfriend is cheating on her. What to do? Oh, I saw your comment going up. So painful. So painful. Well, obviously, we don't know what the situation is. We don't know what sort of boyfriend you've got. Is he a fair person? Is he an angry person? So if you need to be careful because he's an angry or possibly dangerous person, then you need to be careful. Obviously, we don't know.
And is it systemic as well? Is this the first time? I am of the opinion that if someone has been unfaithful, you can't have a one-size-fits-all approach to the subject. I mean, I think you can know in your heart whether you can forgive someone or not forgive someone. And I do think that you often hear people say, oh, we mustn't split up because of the kids and all that kind of stuff. I sometimes think that it's about the person who's on the receiving end of being betrayed. It is really only their choice. Really.
Quite a lot of people there saying, dump him. The thing is, it depends where you are in your relationship. Yeah, like what Mark's saying is true. When I was younger, if I found somebody was cheating on them, I would have just been like, well, that's that. I know what I deserve. Say Mark...
You can get angry for no reason over tiny things.
Yeah, say Mark had a fling, an accident, a one-night stand, or whatever. I wouldn't necessarily, I don't know, because it might be that it would be so damaging that I would never want to see him again. But I know now that I wouldn't just go, right, that's it, it's all over, we're over. Because we've had so much go on. We've got these kids together, we've got this life together, we've got 18 years together. I know that he loves me, and some people can make mistakes. But if I found out he was having an affair, cheating, lying, liaisons, the layers, going for dinner, all of that sort of stuff, I could never, that could never be resolved between us. It would be awful, but I would never be able to live like that. So you've got to go, Emily, to what are your boundaries? You can get angry
for no reason over the littlest things, which can be scary, says Emily.
You've got to be really careful. I mean, so he's cheating on you, and he's being angry over the littlest things, and he's scaring you. That all sounds to me really scary. And I would give somebody a call, like, let me think who would be one of the you know what, I would get advice from one of the domestic violence lines. Yeah. Because if he's scaring you, that is domestic violence. You don't only have to be hit. Nobody should be frightening you. So I would reach out to one of the, Google one of the domestic violence helplines. I think that would be, in fact, we could probably put some up here. Michelle, if you're listening, could you put one up for us?
Thanks,
and I would get some really serious advice, because that does not sound good, and you don't sound safe. So that's what I would say to you, honey.
Dawny Harvey. Hello, Dawny. Hope you're well. You can forgive once, but repeatedly cheat and get rid. I think you're right. I come back to the original comment. I mean, I'm never a fan of a black and white approach to anything. I think all of the interesting stuff in life precisely isn't in the black or white side of anything. It's all in the middle. But I do think when it comes to this, it's kind of a black and white decision. I think it has to be down to the person who's been hurt. Now, with all the will in the world, a lot of people often say, in a relationship, look, don't ever hurt me. I don't ever find out that you've betrayed me. Can you tell me? Just tell me before it happens. Well, that's always a great idea. And of course, a lot of the reasons why people don't tell and the reason it slips into deceit is that it's very hard to actually tackle. It might happen or evolve. Often it happens around alcohol. Often it happens around a momentary lapse. And things don't just happen. There's not like a bolt of light and you go, oh, I'm having an affair. It's like something emerges and it shifts and there's a lack of communication. You're feeling a genuine lack of love and tenderness between you and someone you love. You can still love someone and betray them. There's no two ways about it. I mean, you can.
Yeah, you can.
And so it's a very complicated thing. But having been the one who's done it in previous relationships, I know that the responsibility, however difficult and unfair it is that someone else has done something and taken the choice kind of out of your hands, sits with the one who has been cuckolded, so to speak. And the problem with that is that I've been in a situation where, perhaps we wanted the relationship to survive, but after a good many years, it just still couldn't recover from the hurt.
Yeah.
And that's tragic. And, when children are involved, my firm advice from experience is you have to terminate the relationship.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to, because, the kids will resent both of you. And worse than that, the kid will feel responsible for all those elements that aren't working in the relationship.
Emily's just said this isn't the first time and I feel stupid. Don't you feel stupid?
No, don't feel silly.
Don't you feel stupid? But I think you know the answer here.
Yeah.
This isn't right. You're not happy. I think you know the answer. I want to go to Georgia Cooney. I have lost 3 stone and my boyfriend broke up with me because I was still too fat. I still love him. Should I have him back? I'm going to go right out there on this. Nah. Well, personally, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. If somebody said that, listen, you're too fat for me. Again, he's showing who he really is, isn't he? It's a very brutal, cold thing. But then again, has this been a situation where he's worried about your health? Have you had lots of conversations where you've said, I'm gonna get on top of my weight, I'm gonna lose it? Is it because I know that food can be addiction like anything else. Is your overeating overpowering the relationship? So you've got to ask yourself some really, really straight questions. You've got to ask him to be really honest with you. Does he still love you and he's trying to get you to be healthier? Or is he a controlling person that's just wants, only a very particular look? If that's the case, then he's not seeing who you are. He's just seeing the exterior. So you need some honest talking with yourself and with him.
Can I just say, from a journalistic point of view, fabulous question from Molly M. Mark, do you justify your cheating in past relationships or do you feel guilty? That is such a killer question. I don't justify any of my cheating. But what I do realise when I look back...
Not on me, no. He hasn't cheated on me, Ange.
When I look back, I know that for all the wrong reasons I did it because the relationship wasn't right, but I didn't have the wherewithal and I didn't have the bravery and I didn't have the articulacy or the emotional intelligence to be able to even have that conversation. Yeah. I also know the reason I stopped drinking was because alcoholism and drug addiction was a major component in me becoming a serial sort of, what do you call it? Philanderer, if you like. And it left me as unhappy as it was leaving my then partner. So, and obviously I had periods in my life where I wasn't with people, not great big periods, but I had periods. And in a sense, the guilt was still there because the guilt was about myself if it wasn't necessarily about a relationship. So I don't justify it ever. And interestingly...
Molly M says she wants to be a journalist.
Oh, wow. Well, that is a really good question. And also, I would also go so far as to say, with my eldest girls, I talk about this kind of thing. I talk about the fact that you can make these mistakes. And I recognise that I've hurt people. I recognise that I've broken someone's heart. And I won't ever actually forgive myself for that.
We all make mistakes, Mark. This is Gabrielle H. It's how we learn from them. Chrissy, Nadia, my husband has given up drinking after 2 years of heavy drinking and had a liver transplant 9 years ago.
Wow.
Wow. Oh, that's amazing.
That's good.
That is amazing. Yeah,
That's
alcohol does breed unhappiness and hence cheating. Yes, you're right, William.
Do you want to pull up one of the questions that we
Yeah,
got
we're
from
just
earlier?
gonna get one of the
pull one of the ones
questions.
that came up from earlier. There was one that
Yeah.
drew my attention.
While you have a look, I'm going to talk to Bella. Bella,
Yes.
how do you heal a broken heart? I've had my heart broken fairly recently and it's quite tough. I'm 18. Do you have any tips? This really got me because I had my heart. Can you remember how old you were when you first had your heart broken?
I've been such a bastard in the past. I did everything in my power not to let my heart be broken.
Yeah.
I think my heart was fundamentally broken for other reasons as a child, and I guarded against it ever happening to me.
Well, I was like 19, I think, so I was a bit older than you when my heart was broken. And it is a physical pain. Do you know what? I remember reading something a year or so ago where they said you can actually have paracetamol for a broken heart.
Can you? I feel,
Obviously no more than is on the packet because, of course, it's still an extremely dangerous drug. But because it is an actual physical pain.
I think you've broken my heart with some of the things you've said in some rounds, just like I've broken your heart. So I think I've had a broken heart in this relationship. I'm not joking when I say that the pain is in the chest.
It's actually physical.
It is a physical thing.
So first of all, Bella, we know how you feel. It is a physical pain. It is agonising. You're not going to like what I have to say, but it is time. Time is what heals it. When I look back to when I had my heart broken when I was younger, it felt like it would never ever heal. It was just a totally impossible concept that this pain that I had, and my first crushes when I was young, and that just the agony of a crush. That's why with the girls, I would never dismiss young love or a crush. When people go, oh, well, it's not real love, it's young love. What? What? You try young love. Young love is agonising because you go to it with this open, pumping, rich, red heart and go, what is this? And then you learn to shut down a bit. So time, it is about, don't punish yourself. Do not go searching online. Do not go looking on his Facebook, asking his friends, searching Instagram, looking on Twitter. It is like putting a knife into your heart and then rubbing salt into it. Don't do it. Go cold turkey. Cut him out so that you don't have to see him. Don't try and make out, oh, let's be friends. Can we meet up and be friends? It's not the truth. You want to get back with him. And if you're not going to get back with him, it will just cause you more pain. Stay busy. Be as lovely to yourself as you can. When you feel like you can't bear it, go and run yourself a lovely bath. Look after yourself. A real time of self-love. There's loads of brilliant meditations out there for broken hearts. Sometimes have chocolate cake, but don't overdo it because you don't want to get fat as well as heartbroken. And trust me, it will get better each day, one day at a time. Sometimes you might even have to take it a minute at a time where you just go, okay, I got through that minute. I got through that minute. And now when I think back to that person that broke my heart, I laughed my head off. I thought, oh my God, thank God I didn't end up with him. That would have been horrendous.
Yeah, I mean...
And really question how much of you liked him. Because you can get, at that age, we can get a bit like swoony. Think about the things that you didn't like about him. Think about the things that he might have made you feel negative about yourself. And start saying, phew, for you. Because we change so much from 18 to 28. You don't really want to marry the guy you meet at 18 because you're a different person by the time you're 28.
So just this...
And also, can I just finally say, big hug.
This from Samantha White just popped up and it just struck me. My husband didn't say happy birthday to me today. How do you deal with that? Heartbroken. That's really sad.
Well,
Sorry.
you know what, Samantha? You know what I would say?
You're right.
I would say, don't get into a massive row.
Yeah, don't have a row.
I would say, write him a letter, old-fashioned, I know, or a card, and just say,
it was my birthday.
I'm not angry. I don't want to argue, but I want you to know that you still mean enough to me that when you did this today, it hurt me deeply. Because that is probably the truth, isn't it? That hurt you very deeply. And often when we're hurt deeply, we get really angry, like we do. We're like hurt or we're upset, and we go, ah, we scream at each other. You know, so I would just be honest. I would just say, you've really hurt me. But try and say it in a letter or a card, because otherwise it gets contentious.
You have to be, I mean, it's so easy to say don't be confrontational. Also, the other problem with saying don't be confrontational or try to be calm and all this kind of stuff is one person's calmness isn't necessarily someone else's.
That's why if you do it in a card, you've started up a conversation kindly. You still mean enough to me that it matters to me that you didn't remember my birthday and wish me a happy birthday. Is a very powerful thing to say, rather than go, oh my God, I can't believe it, you're such a bastard, you didn't say happy. Have you got any idea what that was like for me? Have you got any idea? That's a very different, you know, thing you're putting out there.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing to bear in mind in all of these things is a lot of solutions to most problems are to somehow have
happy birthday, Samantha.
Yeah, happy birthday,
Come
Samantha.
on, everybody. Happy birthday, Samantha.
Happy birthday, Samantha. One of the top tips always in couples counselling and in everything is to somehow talk. But sometimes talking doesn't suit both members of the partnership at that time.
No.
So I think if you can get, it sounds really kind of, I don't know, namby-pamby and middle class and sort of navel-gazing to say, you know, let's have a conversation. But if you can, if it's not the right time, there's too much heat in the discussion, just say, can we talk in 10 minutes? Can we talk in half an hour? Can we leave it till this evening? You know, sometimes I think rows escalate by text and by email and by voicemail during a working day when you're not obviously with each other. And then you get to this dread of seeing each other in the evening and you're interpreting what's been said and everything. You know, just say to each other, let's not correspond and let's calmly sit down with a cup of tea or whatever. I would advise not having a drink. If you can remove alcohol from the situation, that would be good too.
Look at this one. Laura Laid Law. My boyfriend is a messy bugger and won't tidy his flat so I can move in. And he expects me to do it for him when I stay over for one night a week. First of all, are you sure you want to move in with him? If you are very different in the way that you live, that I'm already seeing red flags.
Well, you're messy.
Yeah, but you're messy too.
I've become messy.
Don't make me show people your mess.
I've become messy.
Right.
But yes.
He's always been
But
messy.
what you don't want to do is I don't think you should be in the habit of doing anything for anyone else like that.
So when you say he expects me to do it when he comes over, does he really, or do you go over there and because it's a mess, you tidy it?
Yeah.
He doesn't probably actually give a shit one way or the other. So you've got to be careful you haven't got into that martyr thing. I go over there and he expects me to clear it up. He might say, get over here and clear up. We don't know. But really ask yourself, does he expect you to, or do you demand that of yourself?
Yeah.
And also, think about maybe whether it's better not living together and just being a bit more boyfriend and girlfriend, because that sort of thing can destroy a relationship if one person's really messy and the other one isn't. Would you agree?
I totally agree. Natasha Sharman, do you think you can have a healthy and happy relationship if you don't have a good relationship with yourself? Well, fundamentally, I don't think you can. I think you can have great moments, but it's a little bit like a wave. You know, you'll have moments which are great, and then there'll be a point where if you hate yourself, it's going to crash and confusion will set in. And the other thing is, it's all well and good you're not loving yourself or not liking yourself and all that kind of stuff. But
it's actually very difficult to do that.
It's what? Love yourself?
Yeah.
Well, it's very difficult to love yourself.
I mean, these days we all go, oh, love yourself, really love anyone, but it's actually really hard.
Yeah, and also I think the vast majority of people don't. And I think, you know, in a weird way, yes, you can have a successful relationship, but it does, whatever you don't like about yourself, for sure, will become a bone of contention within the relationship.
And also it depends who you've got. So I think Mark and I both had real issues with self-love and all of that when we met each other. And, you know, on paper, you would probably go, oh my God, that's the most disastrous relationship. But we have, so if you've got somebody that sees that you don't love yourself and sees you have self-esteem issues and is unkind or controlling, that would be disastrous because they could exacerbate those feelings and use them to twist and turn you and blah, blah, blah. But if you're two people that are on a similar quest or have a path where you want to feel better about yourselves and you do love each other and you're trying together, then you could. I don't think there's just one size fits all. I don't think you should say, there's no way you can be in a relationship until you love yourself, because I don't think many people be in a relationship.
No, exactly.
I think you can learn that together. I mean, we've been together almost 20 years, So of course we're going to have had some personal growth in those 20 years.
Well, someone's just asked Martin M. Hi, Martin. Can someone please explain the love yourself mantra? Because I don't understand. I mean, if I'm honest, I don't really understand it either. I think it's very easy to say love yourself, but it's very hard to enact it. I think
it's the wrong thing to say.
And can I also say, I think huge industries are developed very irresponsibly around the idea that it's as simple almost as just saying, you know, do this and do that and you'll love yourself. A lot of people who don't love them, I mean, we were talking about this in another context. There is a home time going out later, and Maddie has done something today with NADIA on Loose Women about mental health issues in young people. And the whole, you know, the whole idea of, I think everyone has some element of mental health illness, you know, issues. Everyone has issues. Everyone has addictions.
Yeah, everybody is stressed at some point.
Everyone is stressed.
Everybody is anxious at some point. That is mental health.
And we're not a fixed entity. Some days we can feel very good about ourselves, and other days we can feel absolutely shit.
Exactly.
And so it's just.
And can I just say to simplify what self-love is, what I think it is. It's about being able, I think, to say or love yourself is such a massive concept that so many people are going to step away from that. I think an easier and more doable way to think about it is, what do I have as my lines of acceptance on the way that I'm treated? And what are some of the things that I want in life? I think if you have that as a starting block, that's the beginning of, if you want, love yourself. It's about going, you know, I have needs, I have dreams, I have aspirations, I have a very clear idea of what I think is okay, what's an okay way to treat me or not. Just start with that. Just start with one thing you really want and one thing that you don't want, and you want to be able to say to people that you don't want. And that's self-love, I think, isn't it? Being able to care for yourself. I think people get confused. In America, they're much more able to say, you gotta love yourself, you know, gotta do self-love. As Brits, we find it very difficult because we are self-deprecating and we're very like, oh God, how am I gonna love myself?
And I think also, if you're in a relationship with someone who, you know, you want to be talking the same language. If you're in a relationship with someone, you know, if you can't talk about any emotional stuff, I would say that there is an expiry date on your relationship. If you can't talk about any emotional stuff, I mean, a lot of people say, oh, well, I don't do emotions, and they say it quite proudly. I don't see, it's not something to be proud about. I mean, it's not about, I'm not talking about navel gazing, but, you know, you can talk about emotions, I hope, in the way that we do sometimes, with a kind of gallows sense of humour even. We take the piss out of each other a lot, we take the piss out of ourselves. You know, being able to laugh at yourself is a majorly important part of a relationship.
My dad says, unless you can take the piss out of each other every day, the relationship will never work.
I think you've taken it to a new level.
I really want to answer Chrissy.
Yeah, Chrissy. Oh, that's funny, I saw that.
My daughter is going on her first date this weekend. She's 15. She won't give any info on who she's meeting. What would you do? Right. We are very, very liberal parents, right? Our children, we give them a lot of space to make their own decisions and make their own mistakes. But I wouldn't let Maddie go out if I didn't know who that person was.
Well, I was just about to say, I'm not a draconian dad.
We're not strict at all.
If Maddie was insistent on not telling me who she was meeting and where and what they were going to do, I wouldn't let her go.
No.
And the reason for that is, it's a bit like my issue with people who have issues with CCTV. Why have you got an issue with it if you've got nothing to hide?
Yeah. But that said, he could be a perfectly sweet boy, and children and teenagers are naturally secretive. They want to have something for themselves. 15, 16, they're starting to go, I'm out there in the world and this is me being an adult. So not in any way we're saying, oh God, well, he might be a really dodgy person or whatever.
No, not at all.
But she's wanting to keep that for herself, but she's 15 and you need to know who he is, and you need to know where they're going, and you need to know
and I think you build in, I mean, something else you can do is you can always build in a trade-off, which is, look, you might not like it, you are 15, when you're 16 we can shift the goalposts a bit, and maybe you can go out at a certain time without exactly telling me what's going on. And yeah, you know, it might be a point of principle. Also, obviously, Chrissy, I'm sure you're lovely, but it depends on how you go about asking. I mean, you know, if she's feeling controlled or like micromanaged or something, is there a way you can maybe ask in a sort of more nonchalant way?
I'm just not comfortable, Maddie. This is what I would say. I say, Maddie, you know, me and your dad are really glad that you're going out on this date, and you know, it's great, and let's hope it's lovely, but we're just not comfortable not knowing, and that's simply because we're always thinking of your safety. And you know, and do you really want us to be really worried all night? And you know, if we can just know a little bit of something, then we're going to feel a lot better, and you know, we'll be here when you get back and want to hear all about it. Something like that, so it's not
Or
so
do
it
as
doesn't
I
end
do.
up with slamming doors.
Or do as I do. I have an entire outfit which is a sort of decorative bush, street bush, and I will stand in the street as a sort of, you know, as a shrub, disguised near a cafe wherever they're meeting for a coffee, so I can spy on them. Can I just say, I just wanted to comment, a couple of people were talking about Codependents Anonymous. It is
Fantastic.
a coda. It is another 12-step program. And we talk a lot about how food is a really difficult addiction because you have to eat something, so you can't have total abstinence, whereas alcohol and drug addiction, you can have total abstinence. The other one, like food, which is in many ways as complicated, if not more complicated, is codependency, where your addiction is people and relationships.
To relationships.
You know, and I've been to a few coda meetings because I think, again, most addicts have some codependent issues. Threaded through them. So yeah, and someone mentioned the 12 steps. The 12 steps for CODA are very specifically different to the 12 steps to AA. So it is well worth a check. But go to the website, CODA, CODA, Codependents Anonymous. It's very, very useful.
God, you know, you're a very thoughtful
You're a very thoughtful bunch. There's one here that's been sent through on our call out earlier from Dolly saying, I'm always helping my ex years after we broke up. He's a gambler and cocaine user. He has a girlfriend. I'm in a relationship, but always feel because we have kids that I should help him. Should I stop? Well, sometimes I love it when there's a simple, it's like my oldest daughters, Izzy, sometimes ask me advice, and I say to them, do you want me to give you the absolutely cast iron solid, I am certain what the answer is answer, or do you want to debate? And they often go, just give us the cast iron. And it's kind of helpful, I think, sometimes. You know, an answer to your question, should you stop? Yes. It's as simple as that, because he is an active drug addict and gambler. Now, gambling, two addictions I have huge compassion for, because when I was in the Priory, there were lots of people with gambling addictions, incredibly difficult. He needs to seek help for them. And if he has a partner, maybe you could entreat or implore his partner to either seek help for him or seek help for themselves. But also, if you've got a child that's going there, I would also seriously consider the idea that is it the safest place for them to go if he's using cocaine and things like that. So
I would really, really recommend that you go to Al-Anon, which is for family and friends and anyone that has a relationship with an addict. The 3 rules from Al-Anon are you didn't cure it, no, you didn't cause it, you can't control it, and you can't cure it. Remember those 3 C's. And whenever any addict gets out, like when Mark went into the Priory, you know, they bang on and on about who were the people that enabled this addict to continue their path. So there's always somebody there, or helping them out a bit, you know, or what, you needed another tenner, or shall I make the call for you, or you don't feel well. And you're actually exacerbating the problem and actually really harming yourself, because that's an enormous amount of stress. I know, it's an enormous amount of stress trying to hold somebody up that needs to fall.
Yeah.
He needs to fall. But I understand the complication of it because it's your child's dad.
Yeah. But needs to fall, and you also need to ensure doesn't fall in the care of your child, if you know what I mean. So, you know, also be thinking there might be some kind of, that's really good advice, go to an Al-Anon meeting, but also reach out to someone at an Al-Anon meeting and say, I have a child who, unwittingly, that child is also the child of an addict. And there may be somewhere for, you know, someone who could help your younger child too.
Well, Ted Debisi says, what would really help us all cheer up now is NADIA singing the Wombles song.
I think you should go for it.
And I think we should end this. This has been an amazing chat.
Thank you so much. So intelligent.
It's really
Great questions.
Interesting.
So sort of making us think, and I hope something of what we've said has helped.
Yeah.
Are you going to sing the Womble? You're going to go out on the Wombles? Okay. Are we ready for that?
You can do it too with me.
I don't know the words.
Uncle Bulgaria.
I've never known her so silent. I've never known her so silent.
What's the first line?
Wimbledon,
the Wimbles of Wimbledon.
Wimbledon, Wimbledon, Wombles are we. The Wombles of Wimbledon, common are we. Underground, overground,
wombling free.
The Wimbles of Wimbledon, Womble are we.
Common are we. Guys, if you've liked this film, can you please hit the like button? Can you please subscribe? And can you please hit the notification bell?
Let us know in the comments below when this is uploaded whether you'd like to do more of these. Because the thing about this is they'll be different every week, won't they?
Yeah.
Dependent on everything that comes through.
Problems.
So let us know if you do with a yay and big smiley faces.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. That's helped me and I hope it's helped you.
Charlie W. I need genuine help with my chocolate addiction. All my family don't take it seriously. My husband just says, stop. but I'm struggling.
What does he do?
Let's do that. Let's do that sort of addiction.
Sounds like he needs genuine help now. Can you give him a top
Charlie,
tip top?
Well,
what do you do? Do you
it's
just
so
bin it?
complicated
Do you bin
because
it?
it's exactly the same to me as an alcoholic saying I've got real trouble and nobody's understanding. I would try
Find an OA meeting.
An OA meeting, Overeaters Anonymous. There are people in there that simply have an addiction to chocolate or simply sugar or simply and get some help. There's lots of online podcasts and stuff with Overeaters Anonymous as well, so maybe try those.
And also, I would say the reason we suggest going to an AA meeting isn't just as a kind of quick band-aid. The thing about going to an OA or an AA or a CODA meeting is that you will be able to meet and talk to people who will be able to help you.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. And
Good
we're going to go